Why personal finance feels like algebra class all over again. Introduction. Welcome to today's episode of the Finance Follies and Funny Money podcast, your go-to show for all things personal finance with a twist of humor. If you've ever tried to balance a budget and found yourself more confused than you were in high school algebra class, you're not alone. Today, we're diving into the crazy, confusing, and sometimes downright hilarious world of personal finance. From budget battles to impulse buying guilt, we'll explore why managing your money can feel like solving a never-ending equation. But don't worry, we'll break it down, and throw in a couple of laughs along the way. Ready to learn how to stop losing money while feeling like you're winning? Let's jump in. Disclaimer. The content presented in this video is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as financial advice, nor should it be considered a substitute for professional advice. Always seek the guidance of a qualified financial advisor or expert for any personal finance-related concerns. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the views of any organizations or entities with which they are affiliated. The information provided is based on personal experiences and general knowledge as of the video's release date. Please conduct your own research before making any financial decisions. Why personal finance feels like algebra class all over again. You know the feeling, you're sitting there, staring at your budget, and it's like the numbers just won't add up no matter what you do. It's like that math class you barely passed, but with fewer pencils and more late-night online shopping. Real-life anecdote, last week, I spent hours trying to figure out my budget. I calculated, recalculated, and still ended up overspending on the one thing I didn't even need, takeout. So, let's break this down. Why is it so hard to balance a budget? Maybe it's time to stop treating numbers like enemies. Budgeting 101. Why it's harder than going on a diet. We all know that budgeting is important. But it's like dieting, you tell yourself I'll cut back on spending, only to find yourself at 3 a.m. buying shoes you don't need. Sound familiar? It's all about temptations, and just like a chocolate cake, your budget can sometimes feel irresistible. Real-life anecdote. Have you ever bought something because it was on sale but then found out that it wasn't really a deal? Welcome to the cycle of financial dieting, where we cut down, but always find a way to cheat. How to make your money last when you've already spent it mentally. We've all done it, we mentally spend our paycheck before it even hits the bank. Suddenly, you've already bought the concert tickets, booked a vacation, and pre-ordered the latest gadget. Now, what do you do when reality hits and your account balance is crying for help? Case study, meet Sarah. She booked a lavish trip to the Bahamas in her mind, and then realized she only had enough to buy a round of drinks at a local bar. The struggle is real, but the solution lies in mindfulness and budgeting awareness. The art of spending $20 but feeling like you saved $100. Let's talk about the psychological tricks we play on ourselves. You know that feeling when you spend $20 on something, but then convince yourself it was a super smart financial decision, and you're somehow richer for it? Classic money magic. Relatable example, you've just bought a subscription to a meditation app and a fancy coffee maker, and in your mind, you're already on the path to financial freedom. Meanwhile, your bank account might be crying in the corner. Impulse buying, when you suddenly need a chocolate fountain. Impulse buying, the true enemy of your wallet. It's that moment you see something you didn't know you needed until you saw it, and suddenly you have to buy it. Enter the chocolate fountain, a completely unnecessary purchase, but it felt so right at the time. Personal experience, I've been there, friends, that one-click purchase of a neon sign that says good vibes only. 2 weeks later, it's collecting dust in my living room. Cash vs. card, why you'll spend less when you see the cash disappear. Ever notice how much harder it is to part with actual cash than it is to swipe a card? It's like magic, When you see your cash physically leaving your hand, you think twice. But when you swipe that plastic, it's like you're living in a fantasy world. Studies show that people tend to spend up to 30% more when using cards compared to cash. Let's talk about how you can use the psychology to your advantage in managing your finances. The rich people myths: do they really buy avocado toast every day? It's time to debunk the rich people spend frivolously myth. Spoiler alert, they probably don't buy avocado toast for $12 every morning. Instead, they've likely mastered the art of delayed gratification. Let's discuss why the myth of rich people's spending habits often leads to us comparing ourselves unfairly. Case study: ever wondered how wealthy people seem to stay wealthy while others struggle? It's all about understanding value, long-term financial planning, and knowing when to treat yourself. How to pretend you have your finances together when you don't. Let's be real, nobody has it all figured out. But somehow, we all try to act like we've got our financial lives under control. If you're struggling, don't worry, you're not alone. Today, we'll share some fun, stress-free ways to make your finances look like they're in perfect shape, even when they're not. Humorous example: ever been to a dinner where you're pretending to be cool about splitting the check, but in your head, you're mentally calculating how much you can afford to contribute? Why financial resolutions last for exactly 3 weeks. You started strong. You made your resolutions: save more, spend less. And then, 3 weeks in, the same old habits start creeping back in. What happened? Why do we have such a hard time sticking to financial goals? Real life anecdote: I vowed to track my spending every day in January. Guess what? By the 3rd week, my tracking app was collecting digital dust. Let's break down why financial resolutions are tough to maintain, and how we can make them stick. The paradox of saving money but splurging on treats. Why do we save money only to justify spending it on impulse buys or treats? This paradox is a lot more common than we think. The question is, how can we save effectively without feeling guilty about treating ourselves every now and then? Practical advice: you can still enjoy life's little luxuries without destroying your budget. Here's how you can treat yourself without the guilt or buyer's remorse. Conclusion. So there you have it, personal finance doesn't have to be a struggle. With a bit of humor, some self-awareness, and a few good habits, you can make your money work for you without losing your mind. Remember, it's okay to slip up, but the key is to learn and laugh along the way. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that subscribe button, share it with your friends, and let me know in the comments what money myths you've fallen for. Don't forget, we're all in this together. Disclaimer: the content presented in this video is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended as financial advice, nor should it be considered a substitute for professional advice. Always seek the guidance of a qualified financial advisor or expert for any personal finance-related concerns. The views and opinions expressed in this video are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the views of any organizations or entities with which they are affiliated. The information provided is based on personal experiences and general knowledge as of the video's release date. Please conduct your own research before making any financial decisions.